Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman. Now I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema. Sit down. As you can see, we're chilling in my car, which means it's live reaction time, but we are moving on from the trailers for a brief moment to talk about a movie. And we're going to talk about a movie that I was very intrigued to see when I saw it had a 90 plus on the Rotten Tomatoes score. A score that has not been associated with Nic Cage in quite some time. So pull up a chair, take a seat. I'm fresh out the theater after seeing Mandy. And man, what a trip this movie is, dude, right? Like, before we even get into the movie, just the cinematography, man, and the editing and the color palettes and, all of this, like the color and the visuals in this movie are stunning, man. Like, I actually saw the movie with a couple friends, and I turned to my one buddy, like, when we were walking out, right as we were walking out of the theater just now, and I was like, dude, like, that movie was, like, and I was entranced. Like, I couldn't take my eyes off it. And the stuff I thought they did cinematically and the use of colors was really, really well executed. And something that kind of reminded me of, like, this almost felt like it could have been like a 70s Kubrick film. And it had a very technicolor, like 70s vibe to the style in the film itself. But I dug that, man. And Nic Cage gives maybe one of the best performances I've seen from Nic Cage in quite some time. There is a scene that takes place in a bathroom. Maybe some of the best raw, just pure Nic Cage I've seen in a very long time. And that's something that this movie really did quite well. And I think it's one of the reasons it works, right? Is as Nick has gotten down the back half of his career, he's almost become a caricature of himself in a lot of ways. And you'll constantly, find him in movies that don't make it to the theater. And a lot of times you'll hear him kind of being on the butt end of a joke with a lot of the films that he's made lately. A lot of people kind of saying Nic Cage is crazy. And this movie takes that version of Nic Cage and just amplifies him in such a way that it really is believable, and it worked, like, really well. Another thing I said to my buddy, I was like, someone figured out how to put Nic Cage in this version of Nic Cage in a movie that works. Now, the story and the movie itself certainly raise a lot of questions and have you going, wow. We got to the end of the movie, and we were all like, okay, what just happened? I was with this movie, like, for 2/3. And the third act, it just kind of stops really building on the story and just kind of delivers on the action. And it's hella entertaining to watch. But it did kind of lack a little bit in where I thought the story was. I thought it was actually crafted in a pretty decent horror flick. And the things that it was doing were working. But it does certainly make you scratch your head more than a few times. And certainly at the end, man, you get to the end and you're just like, okay, I have to digest this, right? Like, it's one of those movies. It's definitely a movie you gotta digest, but I dug it, man. I thought it was a really cool entry into the horror, genre for this year. Because we've seen so many different types of horror movies. Kind of do one of these throwbacks. And, I mean, like, just on top of the cinematic stuff, but there was some comic book mentions in this movie. There's a character that I thought was very similar of something you might see in a Batman comic. And there's some nice nods to other movies. There's a little nod into Seven. And it does some interesting things, but it definitely makes you go, what the? Like, a few times. But overall, I thought this movie was entertaining. I could see a lot of people not liking this whatsoever because it is not your typical movie-going experience. But for those that can get through the ride, I think you certainly experience something. It's an interesting flick, man. I dug a lot of the things it did. The question, though, is what did you think? Because like I said, this is one of those movies where I think you could have a split audience, man. I think there are a lot of people that dig this movie. I think there are a lot of people that won't dig this movie. And I want to know where you are. So if you like the movie, if you've seen Mandy, let me know, man. Did you dig it? Did you not like it? Does this fall? Where does this fall for you in the range of Nic Cage? I tell you, there's some classic Nic Cage faces in this movie. And if you've seen it, I want you to tell me your favorites down below, because I know mine. And the minute it happened, I was just like, oh, nice. You do that a lot in this movie, too. But if you didn't like the movie, let me know why you didn't like it, what wasn't working. If you haven't seen the movie, have I enticed you? Are you interested in seeing Mandy? I'll be interested to hear all that down below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe and little bell so you get alerts every time I make a new video. For the C-Man Cinema Sit Down, I'm the C-Man, and I'm signing off. Peace! Hey, what's going on, everybody? C-Man here, let you know you can check out another video just by clicking here or here. And if you really want to be on the C-Man's good side, hit that subscribe button over there. Peace!